This just got out of hand.
Yes, we're one and the same. But you have to understand, you're not supposed to be here. Well, we'll see how powerful I am, because you have to use the Eye of Agamotto as I do. So let's just do this.
I know who you are. Tyler Shelton.
You can try. What is up, everyone? It's Tyler Shelton. This is Coffee with the Beauty Reviewer. I'm your friendly neighborhood coffee snob. And today, folks, I'm finally giving you my review for the movie Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So, with that out of the way, let's get started with today's video. So the movie stars the one, the only Benedict Cumberbatch reprising his role as Doctor Strange. And I would have to say is that this is his defining film that showcases what really makes Doctor Strange, because this is a movie that is tackling the concept of the multiverse. Like, this is like hands down the most time that we've ever got to see of a multiverse in any medium. So that was the one very element that was very present. It was very prominent. It was very prominent within the story itself. But story-wise, I actually think they did a really good job, especially when it came down to the characters of Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch, which you all know as Wanda Maximoff. And more importantly is that I really do think that Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff, I think this was like the best portrayal that she's done of the character in the entire MCU, because like this is like Elizabeth Olsen at her finest. She did such an incredible job portraying the role of a character that you really didn't get to kind of like get the full defining character of the Scarlet Witch. I mean, like, we all knew she was the Scarlet Witch. We all know who she is because she's a very prominent character within the Marvel Comics. But it was more kind of like, when are we actually going to get the real Scarlet Witch? Because we've been waiting for her to don her actual outfit and for her to like showcase of how very powerful she is, because she is an actual like OP character, overpowered, broken. Like, this is one of the most powerful characters in the entire Marvel comic book universe. So I just really loved it that they just showcased how very dangerous she is, and if she is actually being manipulated by something, specifically the Darkhold, the Book of the Damned. And I just really loved that they gave just like full reign to Elizabeth Olsen to like just dive into her acting abilities, and she just delivered. All I have to say is that I just really loved the beginning segment of this film, because it really showcased just kind of like the whole ramifications that happened from the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, because I really enjoyed this conversation that Doctor Strange had with a former colleague, a former doctor, that apparently he was among the half people that got blipped away from the snapping. But I just really enjoyed just this conversation that they had, that he got blipped out, he lost his pets, he also lost his brother, who actually did not get snapped out. So like, you can actually just see just kind of like this sadness in his eyes. He's just kind of like, was this the actual only choice that you had? Because he was asking, was it worth it to give up the time stone to Thanos? Which then would actually lead to this whole thing that he was going like, yes, it was the only way, because he actually saw more than 14 million specific moments in the timeline, 14 million outcomes and only one that they actually defeat Thanos. So you can definitely tell that it was just taking a toll on him, that he had to make that ultimate choice to give up the Infinity Stone, and he had to come back 5 years into the future. Now there's just like all these there's a huge ramification of this whole thing happening, but I just really enjoyed what they did with this conversation between these two doctors. So like, I think that one particular talk just kind of like helped define what kind of a doctor he is. He's always that doctor that has to hold the knife. The director, Sam Raimi, he defined the concept of superhero movies that it was like a full-on game-changing moment within this director's career, because he created the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy. He directed those. So he's actually the very director that changed comic book movies forever. So I was just thrilled that he was coming back, directing a Doctor Strange movie, specifically that I also have seen some of his Evil Dead movies, which are actually B-rank horror films, and it actually does star a guy that he's worked with for so long. I mean, like, this character is named Ash in the Evil Dead, and he's had this guy appear as a cameo in his Spider-Man movies, and he did the same thing in this one. He plays the role as a pizza ball vendor guy, and he's just like punching his face because he got under a spell that he's gonna punch his face at least like for 3 weeks. It was just nuts like that. It just made me go like, oh yeah, it's a Sam Raimi film. It really did feel like an actual Sam Raimi film. So I really just enjoyed it that they gave him full reign to kind of like putting his signature into this movie. Yeah, when it comes down to the whole duality of Doctor Strange and America Chavez, that they are actually on their way to get a MacGuffin within the story, but apparently he didn't know this at the time, but he actually told the Scarlet Witch that he needs her help. But the reason why that this America Chavez is being pursued by demons is all because of the Scarlet Witch, because the Scarlet Witch wants America Chavez's powers, because she can travel through the multiverse, and that is what Wanda Maximoff wants, because she wants to be with her boys. That is the whole reason why that she's in this movie. She's being a villain only to get to her boys in a different universe. That's her end goal. So like, I really enjoy just the whole fact that they're all saying, but in this universe, you have no kids. But in other universes, yeah, you yourself in a different universe, you do have your kids. But let that Wanda have her kids. But it was just kind of like this whole idealistic battle between Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch, is that it was just all about understanding what it really meant to deal with grief, to deal with loss. This is a movie that is really tackling the whole concept of grief and loss to a full extent of it. But she's actually murdering everyone just to have a family. That's where she's becoming more like a villain. It's all about Doctor Strange just accepting the fact that he's not perfect, but he's willing to do everything he can to ensure that anywhere in any multiverse, that his Christine will always be loved and that she will always be happy. And it's all about this America Chavez to live a life knowing that she can utilize her powers in any way she can, but to also become a sorcerer. So I just really enjoyed what they did with this movie. And here it goes. Spoilers if you have not yet seen this movie, but if you haven't, what are you doing? Go see this movie. John Krasinski, Mr. Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic is in the movie. This is like the biggest fan casting ever since like Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. to be casted as Captain America and Iron Man. I mean, like, this is like full on fan casting for Reed Richards, and I was through the wall bonkers when I first saw John Krasinski wearing that Fantastic Four outfit. And oh my gosh, like, as soon as I saw him, I'm like, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Then you got to see Black Bolt, and you also got to see a different version of Captain Marvel, and Charles freaking Xavier, Sir Patrick Stewart. They all die. The Scarlet Witch murdered them cold blood, and it was brutal. I hated it, but I loved it at the same time. They took a lot of characters that I knew and loved, but they just wrecked them. She just did the full-on Matrix move on Black Bolt, because Black Bolt, the only powers that he has is that his voice can actually be so powerful, very dangerous. Just one little whisper like, peace. And it would just like cause this big massive ripple of like loud noise. Just imagine what he would do if he actually shouts. That would be like earth shattering. But what she did, she took away the mouth, and he's like, his whole head becomes goop, because he did make a noise, but it reverted because he had no mouth. It reverted back in his face. It imploded on the inside, splat on the floor. Gruesome, but that was like the most craziest death I've ever seen. Then she turns Mr. Fantastic into a freaking bowl of spaghetti and explodes his face. She cuts Captain Carter in half, crushes Captain Marvel with a statue. Like, this is just bonkers. Like, this was like the most craziest deaths I've ever seen in the MCU. But I think the one that just made me feel is when she actually snapped Charles Xavier's face. She just like, I mean, without a doubt, this movie is not perfect, but I would definitely have to say is that I'll probably put this one maybe somewhere around like the maybe top 15. Yeah, probably like top 15 Marvel films. Like, it's not the greatest, but at least it's kind of like in that realm of like being very entertaining, that you really can't dismiss the fact that, yes, it is messy, it does have some plot holes, and it does have a couple wonky CGI moments, but this is just a full-on entertaining film. So when it comes down to like how I feel as a critical thinker, it's a messy film, but it's a lot of fun. And if you're just looking for like a fun time with a little hint of like almost going rated R, you will love this movie. I really do think so. And that's how I feel about this movie. And you know what? I would have to give this movie a good solid, 8 out of 10. So that was my review for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you have not yet done so, please subscribe to my channel, as it really helps me out. Also, press that like button. Don't press the dislike button. That's a bad one. But anyways, keep on drinking coffee. And I will see you guys next time.